Hello all, back for another installment of the studio build. So as you can see, the studio I have mostly ripped apart, and so therefore no fancy microphone or anything this time. Everything's packed up. So today I'll show you about how I'm building my acoustic panels mostly. I'll also show you a quick rundown of what's happening in the room. There's a roof now and wiring and stuff. In here, let me flip the camera around. In here, everything's mostly taken down. Basically next I have to cover up stuff really well that's still in here before they cut the hole in this really ugly wall for the door. And the desk just has the essentials like computer, headphones, and Devo Energy Dome. Important things. First I'll show you the acoustic panels I have finished. I've got 4 done here, and pretty exciting looking at a black panel on camera. But they actually work really well, and I've spread them out in a couple different rooms and you can really tell a difference. So next we'll go out into the garage and I'll show you some that aren't done and how I went about building them and then how I covered them. Alright, back to the garage. So here's one of the frames put together, though nothing else is done to it. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this before, but I bought the insulation and fabric from a place called GIK Acoustics. On their website they had a good selection of stuff, and I'm reading from the website now. The insulation is Knopf insulation acoustical board with ECOS technology 1.6 pound 6-pack. And they're 24 by 48 inches and 2 inches thick. Okay, so I bought 2 packs of that insulation, so I have 12 pieces. I made 2 boards that are 4 inches thick, and this size, but 4 inches thick, so 2 pieces of insulation. And I made 4 like this one that are 2 inches thick, and then that big one there is going to be the cloud, which is 4 inches thick and twice as wide. So actually 4 pieces of insulation go in that, so that's all 12. The way I did it was I have my friend's got a table saw, so we just bought 1 by 12 boards and then ripped them to exactly 2 inches wide or 4 inches wide for the thicker ones. And that way I don't have any extra space, or I don't have to trim the insulation and all that kind of stuff, which worked super well. So I'm really glad I was able to do that. And then, I just cut 48 inches and 21.5 inches across the top and bottom, and I screwed them together with these kind of screws. Let me tell you what they're called. Okay, I don't know what the brand name or is anything, but they're called Star Drive bits, and so they usually come with a bit because, as you can see, they're kind of a funky head. The nice thing is they don't slip at all. The ones I used are like 2.5 inches. And I drilled pilot holes first, and I used a right angle clamp to hold it square as I did each side. So they went together really well since we cut everything on a table saw and a chop saw, so it was all really accurate. So that's the first step, and then now I'll cover one of these with the way I'm doing it and show you how that goes. Okay, so now I'll show you how I wrap one of the panels. The first step we do with it is I put this stuff on it, which is just like weed control fabric from the hardware store. I got this at Home Depot. It's basically like landscaping fabric. I kind of wrap all of it but one side like a present, put the insulation in it, and then cover that side. And this is very thin stuff. It's mostly just to help hold in the insulation in, and also to keep like any fiberglass fibers from escaping and things like that. And then after that we put the real fabric over the top of it. Okay, and the other important piece about this is what stapler to use. I'm using a pneumatic stapler. I don't have anything like super fancy. I just got all my air compressor and the stapler from Harbor Freight, which is a discount hardware store kind of thing. What I would suggest, this is made specifically for staples, and it's made for, they call wide crown staples. The narrow ones are way too narrow. These are like 7/16 of an inch. The narrow ones are like half that. So they just don't hold the fabric on very well. So if you're gonna get a stapler, pneumatic kind, it'll save your hand, because I can't imagine doing this with a staple gun that you have to squeeze hard. This is super easy. Okay, so now it's insulation time. This is what it looks like. It's brown. Wear gloves. Okay, here's the panel after the landscape fabric's on it. There you go. And you just kind of rough the sides like a present, put the insulation in, and then you just cover the top, just a sheet, and trim around it. This stuff you just trim with scissors, but for fabric I highly recommend getting some fabric scissors because it goes a lot easier. Okay, next up, the real stuff. Alright, real quick, I'm putting the fabric on, and basically you just stretch it really tight and put the staples in. I was going to talk about the corner because it's I had a little hard time figuring it out. Maybe I'll have my assistant hold the camera. Okay, so what you do in the corner, you get rid of some of the extra fabric here because it just gets in the way. And then I kind of do it like this. So it's sort of like wrapping a present, but a little neater. So the edge kind of just folds up straight like that. And once I get all the slack out of it, I put a stapler right in the corner. And then you can kind of pull that tighter, put one underneath it too. That's pretty decent. And there it is. Basically, after you get those corners, there's a close-up of kind of how I do it. It's not an exact science. You just put lots of staples in. Don't be stingy with the staples. It's like a box of 5,000, so it'll last forever. And then you just trim all the excess off, and the back just stays being the landscape fabric. I've got some little clips that I'll probably use to mount them on the wall, but we'll talk about that and I'll show them whenever it's ready to happen. Alright, here we go, back outside. As muddy as ever. We had a big storm last night. And check this out. There's lights, woohoo! So, as you can see, it is dry because we have a roof now, and the roof is all done. They also have wired all the electrical, and the lights are kind of temporarily hooked up, so it's easier to work out here. This past weekend, my friend and I, same one with table saw, shout out to Brian, we ran the network and speaker cables. So each of the 3 studio walls has 3 network cables run to it. That allows for internet, but also using AVB, RTP MIDI, etc. And then, you know, stuff run to like the TV area too, and the siding still needs to come off this wall, and I've got to run a couple of cables back to the house. And the closet's going to have all the network cables going up here, and some outlets for it, and I'll put a shelf with like networking stuff on it. This is really thick cable. It's Cat 6A shielded, so it's been a bit of a learning curve for me to learn how that all works, but you have a lot of fun terminating all of those. And then the speaker wires are just for like the TV area. I've got front, left and right and center and rear speakers available to me, but I went ahead, since the walls are open, and wired it for Atmos in case I ever decide to do it, and if I don't, then who cares? So there are wires run for a bunch of speakers if I ever want to. That's pretty much all there is to see. The lights are can lights, and I'm going to use Philips Hue lights, the BR30 ones. And then the middle, on top of the cloud, will be some more Philips Hue like rope light lights, and that's what plugs into that.